Hi guys, it is that time of the year again. Whenever I finish editing this video, that is. It has been one hell of a year. We saw Venom come out of the closet. Chris Harrison was let go from The Bachelorette. We all got vaccinated. Right? It's also been a particularly very sexy year for the music industry. It seems that being stuck at home for an entire year and more really made artists hone in on their craft and develop truly one of the best years of musical releases. Or maybe I'm just listening to more music, or maybe I'm paying more attention, or something. All I know is that I really fell in love with 10 albums this year, but I'm gonna be talking about 12 because I didn't actually want to make a top 10 list. There were too many to fit. A forewarning, I'm not a fantano, I am not a critic, I am not smart, I am pretty stupid. So some of my picks might be basic, but who fucking cares? I really like these albums, so I'm gonna talk about them, okay? But first, before we get to the real meat and potatoes of the video, I wanted to talk about some honorable mentions. Sour by Olivia Rodrigo. How can I let this video go by without talking about one of the hottest debut albums of the entire year? And let me tell you, the hype is really well deserved. It's a really excellent breakup pop album that has already made a name for itself, and it's incredibly catchy. I've listened to it a number of times. It's great. Haven't heard it? Give it a listen. Planet Her by Doja Cat. I know a lot of people really love this album, and I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't my favorite of the year, but it's still a really fun rap, R&B, pop mix record with just a lot of really awesome fun songs and some really great standout bangers too. Doja Cat's signature quirkiness really shines on it.
I look like a worm. That's dope.
There's never a dull moment on the album. And come on, Kiss Me More is the best pop song of 2021. And I stand by that, and don't fight me on that, because I will win. Next up, we have Vince Staples. It might not be his best collection of songs, but if you're a really big fan of his work like I am, you're really gonna love this project. Vince Staples and Kenny Beats come back together, make some more waves with a really low-key, laid-back, and just smooth as hell rap album. Law of Averages is just a really incredible piece of music, and Vince has such a comfortable flow. It's just... Mamma mia. Love that guy. We also have Valentine by Snail Mail. And while it doesn't have the same raw garage band indie vibe of like her first album that I really enjoyed, it's a bit more polished, it's more controlled, and it just is a really great display of that's not her name. It's just a really great display of Lindsay Jordan's skills, especially vocally. She shines a lot on this album. Maybe not the most memorable in total, but it's still a really great indie rock and pop album for any indie fans out there. There's also Home Video by Lucy Dacus. This album's really something. I think if I had a bit more time with it, it probably would have ended up on my top 10, because it's a really beautiful coming-of-age album, and it's got this really lovely soft rock vibe, and it deserves a lot of love. So go listen to that one. It's really good. You'll like it. I think you will. On to the subject of said video. We are going to be talking about the top 10 albums of 2021, in my opinion. Thank you very much.
Shout out to the dead.
This album is a front-to-back bang. It's just a full hour long, and it's not perfect, but the highs on it were very high for me. This album has been stuck in my head since the first couple times that I heard it, and for really good reason, because damn, fucking slaps. From Trademark USA to Boo Man to South Africa, it's just banger after banger after banger. Something that really draws me into this album is how incredibly clean and hard Baby Keem can be, but underneath everything, there's just like a nuttiness to it all. Maybe it's his more nasally tone. Maybe it's how he can switch from being really laid back to just freaking shouting at the mic. And prime example here is on the song Vent. It first of all opens up with these dope ass synths. Then Kendrick Lamar starts yelling at you. And no, I actually haven't ever been punched in the face, Mr. Lamar, but thank you for asking. Then it's followed by some really wild Baby Keem bars. Ice green booger colored piss, Sub-Zero, lit. What the fuck? But then Baby Keem goes hard, and the beat goes harder, and just everything that Baby Keem does just seems to have a lot of push behind it. It's got a lot of oomph, you know? And then in total contrast to that, he has songs like Issues and Scars that really deep into internal and external demons, even sampling a little bit of, 808s and heartbreaks. I know I mentioned this before, but it's also got Kendrick Lamar on the album 3 separate times. His verses aren't even that amazing. Like, they're not his best bars, but who f***ing cares? I guess if there's one complaint that I would have about this album, it's a bit disjointed. There really isn't any great through line. There's no gooey goo holding it all together. But every song on the album I really freaking love. Even Lost Souls, which looking back, it's not a great song, but I can't help but like groove out to it.
Jumping at that cool, pulling out smooth.
If I have to pick out a few favorites off of the album, I would say Trademark USA is a standout. Family Ties is like one of my favorites of the year. Do-Rag Activity, because hey, we love a Travi Patty feature. Or at least we did. And then Screw It, Vent. It's amazing. I already talked about it. I think this just is a really great and natural follow-up to her first album. She's delving into a lot more modern pop sounds. There isn't as much coldness or signature sneakiness as in her first album, but it's still all the same Billie Eilish-isms. Her breathy, serene vocals, the dreamy electric production from her brother Phineas. Sure, maybe she's an industry plant, but like, gosh, come on, the songs. I really like the songs on this album. Off the bat, Getting Older is a somber opener that really sets the tone well. It's quiet, it's intimate, it's a lovely opening, and it's an instant favorite for me. The more radio playable songs, like I Didn't Change My Number or Lost Cause, aren't my favorites, but they're sleek, they're sassy, they offer some really great subtle grooviness to Billie's voice, and I think she really thrives in that. Oxytocin and NDA are two like rave songs, and Goldwing is a favorite. The sampling of her own vocals to construct the beat is magical, and the chorus is Billie Eilish sneakiness to the max. The absolute best songs, I will say, on the album are probably the ones that are more stripped down. Your Power is a really stunning piece on the abuses of power in the workplace and the entertainment industry. Male Fantasy is a really wonderful closer, and it's a really great critique on the common male fantasy demonstrated in film and television and pornography. I think the standout for most people on the whole project, including myself, is gonna have to be the title track. It starts off with this really sweet ukulele, which in an era in which the ukulele was like the hottest thing in the world, it's a little cringe. And then it switches into this grand, loud, and just fucking powerful finish. It's mind-bogglingly epic. And I think she'd kill it if she made more like rock music. Overall, it's a really great album. It's got lots of potential just oozing out of it that I'm really excited to see where she goes from here. I think a rock/acoustic record should be in order. My favorites on the album are Happier Than Ever, Goldwing, Getting Older, and Therefore I Am. This is the loveliest album that I've heard in a long time. To me, this album sounds like an early morning. You've just rolled out of bed, the sun's coming up, you're snuggling in a blanket, you got a hot cup of tea, maybe a piece of toast, a book, just pure serenity. As clean as this album is and how simple it all sounds, the production on the record is really beautiful. Clairo, who I'd only ever heard from some of her early stuff, like Flamin' Hot Cheetos and Pretty Girl, and of course, Sophia, the TikTok song. Clairo really surpassed every expectation that I could have had on Sling. Each song starts out in a really small and quiet space, and Clairo's really soft voice, it's almost as if she's whispering her lyrics to you. It invites you in. Then the chorus of all of the songs will just hit and frickin' blossom. Amoeba and Zinnias, I think, are prime examples of this. Zinnias, I hadn't really listened to the first time I heard it, and then one day I was listening to it and I was on a walk and the sun was going down and that guitar strumming kicks in, that little bit right there, and just boom, floating. There's also a lot of softer, raw moments on the album, like Blouse, which addresses sexualization and harassment from men, and Reaper, a really brutal song about the fears of motherhood. And they fall under a similar sonic sound to Phoebe Bridgers, of course, but Clairo's delivering a much softer sound compared to Phoebe's more strained, almost cold quality. My favorite song on the album has to be Harbor, without a doubt. You know how I said each song blossoms? Yeah, better believe this song blossoms. It begins with these lovely soft piano keys, slowly introduces a little bit of guitar, and then it reaches a halfway point, and it all gets quiet, and then strings, then piano, then guitar, then Clairo just sailing on top of it all. It just creates a really stunning moment on the album for me. And the last two songs on the album, Little Changes and Management, offer a really great close. They address her anxieties over her future, her coping with depression, but just still, through it all, pushing forward. It's melancholy, but it's stunning nonetheless. My favorites on the album are Harbor, Partridge, Zinnias, Amoeba. Yeah, Amoeba's a bop. Definitely check that one out.
Baby bet, ay, Cobra X, ay.
Yeah, of course. The debut album of the year, perhaps. Really knocked it out of the park. Just what the fuck, you guys? I can't lie, I was worried for just a fleeting moment that this album wasn't gonna be that good. Because how could the guy who made the two biggest pop songs of the entire frickin' year make an entire album that is equally as good? But then I heard the album once, and then I heard it twice, and then I heard it 3 times, and yeah, it's really good, you guys, it's really good. We've all heard Call Me By Your Name, we've all heard Industry Baby at this point. That's what I want, even though it's the more basic pop song on the record. It's freaking catchy, dude. Same with Tales of Dominica. The hooks are both so magnetic and memorable and freaking catchy. $sign Slime, the Megan feature, quotable as hell, banger of a song, and Scoop?
The Doja Cat verse on Scoop?
Bottom line, the production on here is just so lush. Every song has a vast, almost spacey quality to it. It's like Travis Scott, but gay. I love how this album has songs like Void on it, which are soft and serene, yet then we have Life After Salem, which is a hard opposite with these raging electric guitars and this heavy trudging drum and bass and a wailing Nas X.
What you want from me?
He even collaborated with Sir Elton John, the guy. The range and the structure of the album is great too. This is the debut album of a lifetime. It's kind of unbeatable how successful Lil Nas X has managed to be this whole past year. And I'm not just saying that because he's in my age demographic and he's taken a really inspiring stance in the face of homophobia outside and inside the music industry and challenging people's ideas of gay black men in hip hop music. But that is one reason why I do really like this album. His music is catchy and it's fun and it's accessible as long as you don't mind a couple of words. He has showcased that he can go in a number of directions with his career. He's got so much heart and skill already. He's not afraid to have fun with it and really go all out. Best songs to me on the album are Industry Baby, Scoop, Dead Right Now, and One of Me, and Void.
Who let the dope boys out?
The second album on the list where all the songs are capitalized. Brockhampton, a soft poised cesspool for hip hop fans.
Dope, dude. Tell us more about how you love Brockhampton.
The album bangs. I've been saying this a lot, but I mean, I'm telling you guys, everyone's just dropping really good music this year, so I don't know what to do. From the opening song, Buzz Cut, it just skyrockets into hypeness and style and craziness and groove. There are songs like Chain On, which has a clean verse from JPEG Mafia, and Windows, another very clean verse from So Gone So Flexy, and they make me feel like I should be in a skateboarding movie directed by A24. Windows being a standout on the album for me, with a verse from every member of the band. It's got a grimy bass line and a really foreboding and spooky chorus. Then right when you think that the song is over, it's not. The sound of the song starts to blur and it starts to fade, and then Bareface comes through and delivers a really, again, spooky, hushed final verse. It's magical. Then there are other songs on the album like Count on Me and I'll Take You On and Old News that dip more into their boy band roots, and they're also great tracks. The bars are hot as ever, and even though they aren't my favorites on the album, I'm gonna listen to them every time they come on because they just make you feel good. What's the Occasion is a really droopy but infectious track about depression. It has probably my favorite production on the album. It's got these plucky but really aggressive guitar chords, this rumbling bass underneath everything, and then these like floating spirit-like noises in the background that's like ooh. And then probably the best outro to a song all year, it transitions into this triumphant, almost orchestral piece of music. It feels triumphant, successful, empowering. Then there is The Light, Part 1 and Part 2. Part 1 is this raging song addressing the death of Joba's father and Kevin Abstract's struggle with his coming out to his mother, his depression, and just pure anger and frustration with the world. And the Part 2 of this track might be the most tragic song that I've heard all year. It revisits the same themes of trying to find the light in the darkness, but here the light is more reflective of death. Joba's verse really brings me to tears every time I hear it. It's really such a raw but beautiful and vulnerable place to finish the album, and it touches my soul every time I hear it. My top picks on the album are gonna have to be Buzz Cut, Windows, Chain On, and When I Ball. Hi, this is Editing Jamie. I realized some of the footage of this part got goofed up when I was transferring it, so here I am. This is my new favorite Fall Time album. If you're a big fan of Phoebe Bridgers, Lucy Dacus, somber, ethereal, dreamy tones, I think you'll really enjoy this. The cool thing about this record is that it was actually written by someone that I went to school with. It's really exciting to see someone that you've known write and perform music over several years. They've always been a really great songwriter, but the sound that Mary Claire has cultivated on this album is like insanely impressive to me. Opening track Chestburster kindly introduces a lot of the themes present on the album. Movie references, confusing and struggling relationships, feeling like a stranger to your own body, and the act of consuming people or being consumed. The line, "I'd let you do the only thing the chestbursters from Alien know how to do," isn't the first cinematic description of self-destruction on the album, but all in all, it's a surprisingly upbeat intro track. Something really engaging about Mary Claire's songs is none of them, except for perhaps Pro Boxer follow a strict verse chorus structure. Each song feels like a long form story. It feels like an outpouring of emotion or just maybe much needed venting. It's wide open and it's honest and it's presented beautifully. The Boys Are in a Band does this exact thing by presenting a string of feelings toward this friend and this potential love interest, but not knowing how to share these feelings beyond just singing. Fargo is a huge standout to me, and sonically it's melancholy, it's cold, but their excellent use of reverb and ghostly vocal layering during the chorus make for a really enveloping and dreamlike experience. It's a tale of making out on the couch while the movie Fargo plays in the background, and the line that they have never wanted to be more than Steve Buscemi being ripped apart by a wood chipper and painted on the snow. Now that is some really cool self-destructive lyricism. Pro Boxer is the best single on the album, especially since it was released to be such, and it's a brilliant song, describing wanting to be touched by your lover so badly that even being punched in the face would satisfy that need. It's powerful, it's incredibly stunning, and it has these haunting and ghostly vocal shouts during the break in the chorus. I could talk about this album all day long, but I will say that the second half of the album, while it is tonally more dreary than the first half, it is just as gorgeous, it is just as open and outpouring of these emotions. The themes of consumption and destruction really come to a head in the song Black Goo, where they compare themselves to the shapeless form of the 1985 Blob movie. Really magnificent writing. Definitely listen to this album and do support their work on Bandcamp because they are truly incredible at their craft and really deserve some praise for this album. Okay. Okay. This is just one of the best collaborations of two modern pop artists since, like, I don't know, Kids See Ghosts. It just makes so much sense the more that you think about this collaboration. It just... I love this album, guys. I think the biggest complaint that you can give this album is that it might not be super original, but I mean, heckin' Bootsy Collins is introducing the album and then closing it up, so I mean, like, yeah, it's supposed to sound like that. This is honestly my favorite work from Bruno Mars, if I'm being completely frank. I don't dislike his other work, I think he is just a bit overplayed. Here, I think he shines. His voice is just the perfect vehicle for this classic funk and soul sound, and like, yeah, of course Anderson .Paak is amazing. The man's incredible. His voice, God, his voice, it's just so sexy, you guys. Anyways, let's talk about the songs. Leave the Door Open was probably the song of the summer next to like Kiss Me More. Smoking Out the Window is this bitter, cheeky goodness. Put On a Smile, man, fuck, it's so pretty. I melted when I first heard it. In the Safeway parking lot, I fucking melted. 777, Bop. After Last Night, also very sexy as hells. Skate. When I heard the song for the second time, I had like a full little dance party in my room. It just makes me want to like swing dance or disco. You can't hear this song and not move your body. Like if you don't move your body to Skate, you're a psychopath. You gotta be fucking crazy not to listen like this song. Anyways, my favorites on the album are Skate, Leave the Door Open, Put On a Smile, and the entire Stupid album. It's great. Make more of this shit. It's so fucking good. Y'all are making me blush.
Rolls Royce pull up, black boy hop out.
I think I listened to this album like 3 times when it came out, like on the same day. A lot of people describe this album as his earlier album Wolf, but better. But it's almost been a decade since that record came out, and Tyler has just improved so much over the course of that time. And while this might not technically be as good as Igor, it's still probably his best rap album, like if I'm being fair. From the top song, Sir Baudelaire, it's another excellent opening track. It's very smooth, it's braggadocious. Then Corso, which is easily one of my favorite songs of ever now. One of my favorite instrumentals he's ever had. What's Your Name? It's such a good R&B throwback. Like, my God, this song is so fun. Hot Wind Blows, great Lil Wayne feature. Massa, probably my favorite song on the whole album. It's probably the best demonstration of Tyler's growth as a lyricist, just because the way his flow develops during each verse, it's really impressive. And the sweet I Thought You Could Dance two-parter song, it's such a brilliant piece of music. I cannot believe he added a reggae song to this album. Juggernaut, it just has one of the best beat drops I've heard all year. The Lil Uzi Vert and Pharrell features, like, it just makes for a really great trio of verses. All in all, it's just a great album of Tyler flexing his creative muscles and really showcasing how talented he is and how much he's achieved in his career. If I have to pick favorites, which I will have to say Corso, Massa, Sweet / I Thought You Wanted to Dance, and Lumberjack. Lumberjack's great, man. This album is everything that I fear about crazy conservative Catholics. From the get-go of this album, you're greeted with this buzzing synth bass, deep piano, Kristen Hayter's swirling mix of her own wailing vocals. It's like taking the role of God up front. I am relentless. I am incessant. I am the ocean.
All who dare look upon me swear eternal devotion.
Jesus Christ. This is already very intense. You feel swallowed in this cacophony of noise until it just starts to get quiet, gives you a second to breathe, and then it's dope. And that's just the beginning of the album, dude. I Who Bend the Tall Grasses is like listening to the scariest sermon of ever. I think by the time I got to Many Hands, the third song on the album, I was crying just because of how fucking scary this album is. Like, I'm not particularly afraid of God, but I was while listening to this. Repent Now, Confess Now has a freaking banjo, but it sounds like a death march. The surgeon's precision is nothing. No wound as sharp as the will of God. Girl, what the f***? He will ram your eyes with glass. And it's not all loud and scary. The songs Perpetual Flame of Centralia and Pennsylvania Furnace are softer moments that offer more self-reflection. The latter is an acceptance of hell and punishment, and it truly feels like the most helpless moment on the album. It's really tragic to listen to. Man is Like a Spring Flower is easily the most badass song, a true fuck all men anthem, if you will. 3 minutes into the track, you get this killer bass and woodwind and just further driving beat. The end of the album, The Solitary Brethren of Ephrata, caps it off wonderfully. It lifts you out of hell and into heaven. It is a glimpse of God's beauty in full. It really does feel like the end of a very long and grueling mass. The repetition of the line, "Paradise will be mine," feels hopeful yet hollow. It's as if you've had to scoop out your insides to just achieve God's love. Now honestly, if you've been raised in the Catholic Church, this album might be very rewarding. Not that it like changed me or anything, but it really tapped into the fears that many congregations push in order to make you a devout follower of God. It's beautiful, it's horrifying, it's haunting, but all in all, it's kind of a perfect album, and I don't even have any favorites. This album is best experienced in its entirety, and god damn it, it's good.
Dirty. Money, I'ma make you look dirty.
This album is, it's fucking great, man. Similar to how Tyler, the Creator, really pulled in all of the skills that he's developed over his career to make Call Me If You Get Lost, JPEG Mafia similarly brings in an insane mix of his usual glitchy and abrasive production style with some surprising modern appeal. That's not to say that this isn't just a balls to the wall insane album. It's very loud, it's very bombastic, and it has an undercurrent of what I can only describe as gooey bass. His sound is just unlike any other. For as much as he shouts and screams, making for really heavy material, he's meticulous, he's intricate, and he handles every song with so much care. If you aren't familiar with his stuff and you want to check out some of his stuff and check out some of the best experimental rap music to date, this album may serve as a very good entry point. If I could go back in time and listen to the full album for the first time again, I would. Every song on it kind of blew my mind in some way or another. Trust provides a really good intro to the full tone and themes of the album with these flippy synth keys, but this, again, deep, trudging bass. Then Dirty has these clanging pots and pans type beat and a really funky synth bass. End credits, he raps over this wailing heavy metal guitar. Hazard Duty Pay, he raps over a remixed soul track. What kind of rapping is this? Just makes you feel like you're freaking flying in outer space. Thought's Prayer is literally a loose Britney Spears cover, and it's fucking awesome. And Tired, Nervous, and Broke, oh my god. It's the longest song in the album, but it has brilliant flow from this slow synth beat with crashing cymbals to this double time beat that he just kills lyrically, and Peggy screaming on the mic in an epic chorus. There's a lot more to talk about because practically every song on the album is perfect. My favorites are gonna have to be Tired, Nervous, and Broke, BMT, Dirty, and Ghost of Ranking Dread. This is truly a gut-wrenching, heart-pounding, and tear-flowing album that when I first heard it, I really didn't know what to think. After listening to it again, I really didn't feel like I could put it on the list because it's just such a brain fuck of an album, and it just kind of transcends being on a top 10 list. While I'm not super well versed in their catalog, Injury Reserve is known for their experimental rap, a lot of subgenre blending, and also just some really great bangers. So if you listen to this new album expecting bangers, actually you're gonna cry instead. Sorry. Now, something to note is that while working on this album, Jordan Groggs, a member of the group, passed away. So with that, some of the songs hit almost too hard, like Top Picks for You, which showcases someone dying, yet their streaming services live on. The blueprint of the media they enjoyed lives on, waiting for them to press play. It's a harsh album, and not to mention Knees, which is about aging and growing pains and the deep sadness of not getting any taller and not getting any younger. Now, sonically, this album is also nutty, absolutely insane. It pushes all boundaries. The opening track, Outside, is a perfect tone setter. It's this distorted and deepened vocal riffs, repeating, almost stuttering lyrics, a deep soul-shaking bass, and synths splattered all about. It feels like musical dissociation, but in the best way. Superman Bat has a skipping and loud beat and auto-tuned vocals that trail beautifully. It kind of sounds like a ghost is reaching out, yelling at you. It's awesome. There's really dreary moments too, like SS San Francisco and Ground Zero that sound like industrial hell. Footwork in a Forest Fire is my favorite scary banger about climate change. And I already mentioned Knees, but it really does something to me. The fear of aging is so tangible in this. It's enchanting. All in all, this is a masterpiece that deserves a rank of its own. And that's all I have to say. So go listen to it. Now, my number one album of the year. Can you guess what it is? I can, because I wrote it. Wrote it all down. I didn't write the album. I'm not that good. I think that Little Sims's Sometimes I Might Be Introvert is truly a masterpiece, and easily the best rap album I heard of the entire year. From the start, you're introduced to the grandiosity of this project. These swirling instrumentals, full orchestration, heavy brass, and marching drums. Little Sims tackles how dystopian the world has become and how scary it is for her to be a black woman in the midst of it all. And yet, this is the most badass and inspiring albums I've ever heard. It's a beautiful celebration of her own accomplishments and the accomplishments of women of color across the world. Specifically on the song Woman, the song is groovy as hell and never has Little Sims rapped smoother. Lyrically, she's on fire on this record, to be frank. My favorite song has to be I Love You, I Hate You, which is maybe the best song of the year. She dives into her internal strife of being raised without a father, and the anger she has built towards him is tangible and it's moving, and structurally it's brilliant. The buildup of her vocal intensity and her incredible lyricism and instrumentation, it just makes for a perfect song. The amount that she goes into herself, addressing a near-death experience, the stress of her rising fame, the struggle of balancing her family and business. The album is a really amazing reflection piece. Little Q Part 2, she raps about her difficult childhood, and through all of her strife, she's come out the other way stronger than ever. This also easily has the best chorus piece with this college dropout type vibe with a choir of kids singing above some really groovy ass drums. Standing Ovation is a contemplation of the responsibilities of her fame and her duty to spread important messages above this incredible brass instrumentation, these skipping drums, and a great switch up in the chorus where it slows down into a dreamy lull and then back into her really fast rhythm and lyricism. It's magnificent. And Point and Kill and Fear No Man, these songs slap. They've got some really fun and upbeat West African inspired instrumentals and vocals, like the best straight grooves on the whole album. Little Sims's lyrics are sassy, they're braggy, but they're feel good and they're smooth as shit. The transition pieces on the album may not be my favorite, but they're beautifully produced. It's like legitimately like listening to a movie. The last two tracks on the album are How Did You Get Here is the most uplifting song ever. It's honestly just so beautiful how proud she is of her progress and the love for herself, of her work, of her family, of her friends. It's moving and misunderstood. It's another soft and sweet reflection of managing her work and her family, and it's clear that she's not driven by money or fame or the glory, and as much as she does revel in that, the love of her work is first and foremost, and it makes for a really feel-good, personal, and just truly heartwarming album through and through. Are you kidding me? So this is my album of the year. Whether or not you're a rap fan, doesn't really matter. Her work is magnificent and it should be enjoyed by all, and she deserves all the freaking love in the world. This album, it's a masterpiece. That's all I can say about it. Well, I guess that is all my albums of the year. Everyone who watched this, and especially if you got all the way to the end, thank you. I appreciate it. But anyways, subscribe, stick around, and yeah. I hope I see you guys later. Okay. Have a good night, or good morning, or good afternoon, or whatever. Anyways, bye!